This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about men in makeup, millionaire maggots, and matchmaking mishaps. All that and more as we watch Season 4, Episode 19 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I am one of your hosts, and joining me as always is my co-host and my brother. What's up, Imran?
Hi, sister. How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm over here trying not to feel old this week. I'll tell you why. Listener, my sister and I were in the car earlier. We had the classic rock radio station on, and they were playing a Nirvana song.
On the classic rock station.
And I was like, what is even happening right now? How did this happen?
Well, that was like 30 years ago.
Time is just not on our side sometimes. Yes. It blew me away. I was like, what?
Spoiler alert, listener, your favorite co-hosts are old.
Listen, but, you know, if you grew up with this show, you're also our age, and you're also probably longing for the early Gen X days of when you were in your teens and life was just, there was worry-free. You could watch Perfect Strangers in the late. Yeah. So let's travel back in time and pretend like none of that happened, and we're just 13, and it's 1989.
We're 13, it's 1989, and we are watching Season 4, Episode 19 of Perfect Strangers, entitled Just a Gigolo.
Oh, Just a Gigolo.
I don't know if this show title would happen today, but we'll talk about that later in the show.
That word gigolo. So this is a song. I know that.
Just a Gigolo, in fact, was a classic song from the real classic era, the late 20s and early 30s.
I didn't know it went back that far.
Not from Nirvana years.
Yeah, no, and that word gigolo goes back to the 20s and 30s. That's crazy.
Right. So here's the story about this song. It was a classic song from the late 20s, early 30s. It was originally written about a story that took place in Austria, but then later it was adapted and set in Paris. And the American version of this song tells the story of a World War I veteran who wears his uniform and medals but had lost his identity and is now reduced to asking women in a cafe to hire him for his company.
So that's the roots of the whole gigolo concept.
So the word gigolo, I did a bit of research. Yeah. It is sometimes considered derogatory, but it refers to basically a paid male escort.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those words in the language that starts out derogatory, then kind of loses its meaning.
I mean, but it's in popular culture in this song. Because not only did this song start then, but it continues. It was popularized throughout the different decades. Bing Crosby made a very popular version of it in the early 30s.
Yep.
The most famous version was made by Louis Prima.
I love Louis Prima. I love that version of the song.
That one got combined with another song, and it was called I Ain't Got Nobody in 1956.
And then
it was popularized again in the 1980s by none other than Van Halen frontman David Lee Roth.
I think a lot of our listeners will remember that song and that video. It was on MTV.
It was a great video.
The whole time, all the time, and he would be like, gigolo, gigolo, gigolo. But then he also had that part where it goes, I ain't got nobody.
Yeah, it's the same combination that Louis Prima made.
Gigolo, gigolo.
So the song has been around. It's in popular culture. Yeah. Maybe it's a derogatory word, but it also exists in music. So
the word is fun to say, though.
Gigolo.
It's not juggalo.
No, that's a different thing that we're not going to discuss on our family-friendly
the juggalo is the juggalos are fans of the Insane Clown Posse. They call themselves Juggalo. No, this is
Gigolo with a G.
Now, if you were to crack open the TV guide, what is this episode about? The TV guide would have told you the cousins try to prevent Lydia from marrying a gold-digging con artist who is just ripe for additional temptation. Who's just ripe, Lydia?
Yeah, that's a confusing
that's a weird way to write a description.
Or the con artist.
They're both ripe.
They're both ripe
they
for
smell.
temptation. That is a bit of a strange description. I'm confused. Anyway, this episode, we've got our favorite cousins played by Bronson Pinchot, Mark Lynn Baker. We have a brief appearance by Melanie Wilson as Jennifer.
Very brief.
And, of course, we have Lydia, played by Belita Marino. And where we have Lydia, we also have Harriet, Jo Marie Payton France, and then a small selection of other guest appearances.
Big Lydia episode, though.
Yeah,
and I
big
love
Lydia
Belita
episode.
Marino when they give her more stuff to do.
Yes.
She always delivers.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. This episode aired on March 31st, 1989. And of course, Perfect Strangers is streaming for free on Amazon Freevee, which you may have formerly known as IMDb TV. So, Act 1, let's get into it. We start in the basement of the Chicago Chronicle, and we have Harriet enter. Larry's there. Harriet comes onto the screen, and she's looking for Lydia. And Larry tells her that, she was here a minute ago. And Harriet says, I hate to see her wandering around in the condition she's in.
Oh, she's in a condition.
So right away, we know something's wrong with Lydia.
Something's up with Lydia.
And Larry's like, oh, yeah, I heard. Frank dumped her.
Okay.
And Harriet's like, Frank? That was last week. Norman dumped her this morning.
Oh, Lydia's going through men, huh?
And then Larry comes in with the first joke of the show. Boy, she has more trouble picking men than George Bush.
Yeah, this joke is probably funnier at the time.
Yes, this joke
very
did
topical.
not hold up.
I almost didn't understand this reference.
So George Bush, he's not talking about George W., but the senior George
okay.
Herbert Walker Bush.
He was president in 1989.
Who was president and had a lot of problems choosing his cabinet appointments and getting those appointments approved by Congress, which we don't know. No one remembers that
Nobody
now.
remembers that. I don't remember that
in 1989, that was probably in the news a lot.
That was big news that George Bush can't hold on to any staff members.
So that was a little throwaway line that would not have held up.
No, and it's kind of not the strongest opening joke. Also, anyways, just speak of Lydia. She exits the archives and she's in this flowery dress, but she looks all sad and she's wandering around. And Larry's like, "Oh, hi, Lydia. I heard about Frank and Norman. It's been a rough week for you." He's asking her if she's okay, and she brushes off. She goes, I'm fine. I don't know why everybody's so upset. And now we get there's a number of analogies that you've heard about men and dating in this episode. Here's the first one.
It's kind of like a runner. Yeah.
Yeah. She goes, men are like buses. If you miss one, there'll be another one around any minute.
And so she seems okay. She's like, whatever.
Yeah, she
there'll
just
be another
brushes
one.
it off.
And then Harriet off to the side goes 3, 2, 1, and then suddenly Lydia explodes into tears, like sobbing.
Yeah, she's walked into the elevator at this point and collapsed.
And Harriet's like, oh boy, and she's been through this before with Lydia, so she takes her into the elevator, whisks her away. They leave, and just then Balky comes running in from the garage, and he's very excited. We always get these excited Balky entrances.
Cousin, yeah. A lot of episodes he just runs in going, Cousin!
I did it. And Balky has figured out a way to make Lydia feel better.
Hold on. So the whole Chronicle office is aware that Lydia is being dumped at one minute after another.
She's like a big personality at the Chronicle.
Like
she's nationally syndicated. Yeah. She's like a big deal, and we'll find out more about how big a deal she is.
I just thought it was funny, like everybody knows.
I mean, this is like her close circle of friends, apparently, so the word is out. Balky bursts in. He says he's figured out a way to make Lydia feel better. Larry asks if he got her some flowers, and Balky just says, that's cute. He said, cousin, flowers are nice, but they don't keep you warm at night. I got her a man.
Oh, boy.
Whoa.
Wow, he's out there making things happen.
And Larry, of course, hears this and immediately is like, no. And he's like, wait, no. This is none of your business, Balky. You should not go there. Finding her a man is not your business. And Balky says, okay, technically that's true, but matchmaking is actually my mama's business. But I used to do her books. So he feels like he has some skills.
Was the big Myposian matchmaker. She was the Yenta.
Yes. And he goes on to explain. Larry's also shocked by this. And Balky says she's still a matchmaker. For 6 generations, Mypos has depended on the Bartakamus family for matchmaking.
Whoa.
In fact, our house was fondly referred to as the Love Connection.
That's a reference, right?
That is a reference. The Love Connection was a hugely popular syndicated game show hosted by
Chuck Woolery.
Chuck Woolery.
Everybody knows Chuck Woolery.
It was really big in the 80s and 90s. And on the show, They tried to find the best match. They just tried to match up single people.
And we go from that, and now you have Love is Blind on Netflix. That's where it's ended up.
Yes.
Back when it was wholesome.
So that's the reference to the love connection. And Larry is still kind of like, okay, trying to absorb all this. And he says, well, who's the guy? And he goes, it's not someone you just met on the street, is it?
That's what I was thinking.
And Balki says, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. I met him across the street in the diner.
So it is some
he
random
takes it
guy.
literally. It is some random guy. We find out his name is Jack Colby, and he's on his way over to the Chronicle this afternoon to meet Lydia. Just then, the elevator opens again, and Harriet and Lydia are back. Lydia steps out. She says, "I'm good now, thank you, Harriet. I'm feeling better." And she beelines it for the parking garage as if she's leaving. She's like, "Bye, boys. Have a nice weekend." And Balki stops her. He says, "You can't leave now. I have found the perfect man for you." He tells her his name. His name is Jack. He's tall. He's good looking. And get this, he don't spit when he talks.
What kind of men has Lydia been going out with?
Always a plus.
Yes,
Always. That's
a plus.
definitely on my list for men. No spitting when you talk. And then Larry is like embarrassed. He's trying to like cover for Balki and he apologizes like, Lydia, wait, I'm sorry. Balki's been playing matchmaker. I tried to tell him it was a mistake. And Lydia says she appreciates the effort, but she's okay. She's got friends. She's got a nationally syndicated column. She's got a little money. And then she goes, okay, I've got a ton of money. Key detail for this episode. She admits she has I guess nationally syndicated columnists make a ton of money.
Sure.
And she says, the last thing I need in my life is a man.
Okay, so Lydia's a high roller. She's a little rich.
She's trying to like do her post-breakup me time and trying to heal from this.
Which is healthy.
Yes. And she's like, I don't need a man. I'm good. But just then,
a man walks in.
He is sort of like well-dressed in a nice crisp suit.
Silver-haired gentleman.
Sort of like...
good-looking fella.
Good-looking older fella.
It's Jack.
And he says, hi, Balki. And Balki says, Jack, you're here. And then he introduces them. He's like, this is the Lydia that I told you about. Lydia, this is the Jack I told you about. And then he pushes them physically closer together. Yes. And steps away.
And he's like, go. He's like, hey, pushes them together and go.
Right. And Jack says, oh, you're Lydia. You're not at all what I expected. And he tells her that he reads her column every day. And the advice she gives the readers is so wise, so obviously born from experience that he didn't expect someone quite so young. Oh, what a charmer.
He's working her. Good.
What a charmer.
He's already working her. That's a good line.
And Lydia's like, oh, really?
That's everything Lydia wants to hear, right?
Yeah, that
and he reads her column, and she looks young. This dude, Jack, is played by Charles Frank, Jack Colby, who's done many soap operas. I didn't really recognize him too much. Apparently, he's been on an episode of Wonder Woman. He was in The Right Stuff, the movie.
A lot of soap operas. All My Children, L.A. Law, which is not a soap opera, but...
Matlock. He just did a lot of TV throughout the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Yeah. To me, he looked like one of those faces that is not immediately recognizable, but is like common in all the shows at that time.
Yeah.
Larry is still trying to apologize for Balki. He still kind of thinks this is a bad idea. And he steps in and says to Jack, sorry if this is inconvenient, but Lydia has decided. And then Lydia, though, has one look at this guy. She's in and she's like, shut up, Larry.
Yeah, she's done. Never mind what you were saying.
And she's like, so you read my column, huh?
Yeah.
And then Jack decides to be very forward and asks her to dinner that very day. And Lydia says, why wait? I haven't eaten anything all day due to a minor trauma in my life. And so they're going to eat now. Wow. She's like, bye, boys.
Nobody's wasting any time here.
And they leave together. And as they're leaving, she's like, Jack, I want to know everything about you. She's like all in, smitten from the first sight. And so they leave. And Balki's feeling pretty proud at this point.
He's all smiley, and Larry is just like shocked. His mouth is open, like,
whoa,
oh my God,
worked.
that was really good.
And Balki says, well, another Bartakamus match. Over 3,000 served.
That's a good reference.
This may be worth a photograph in Mama's brochure.
Okay,
she has
so
a brochure.
she got quite a system. She's got a brochure.
What do we think Mama's matchmaking service is called?
Oh, the Meepos matchmake. Oh my God, what is that called? Mama's Meepos matches. I don't know, but she clearly has. It's probably a trifold brochure with full color pictures.
Yes.
And the phone number to the one phone at Meepos. I don't know how that works.
There is one reference in this last line. Over 3,000 served.
That clearly is a reference to McDonald's and the signs they have, how many people they've served burgers to, which I believe it's like over 10 billion or just billions and billions. I don't think they put the number up anymore.
Yeah, I think they just have over 99 billion or just billions and billions served.
But the people would reference that all the time once they started doing that.
Yeah, I don't think we hear this reference too much anymore, but it used to be quite popular. Okay, so Larry's amazed.
Yes.
And he says, Balky, you are quite the matchmaker.
So Balky has this in his blood, technically, right?
Yeah.
He's got the same powers and abilities as his mama.
He grew up watching his mama make matches, so he knows.
You're going to be good at it.
And so Larry's impressed, super impressed, until Gorpley walks in from the parking garage, which is the direction Lydia and Jack left toward. And he goes, was that Jack Colby with Lydia in the parking lot? And Balky's like, oh, you know him? And Gorpley says, only by reputation.
Uh-oh.
And then Larry's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. What is this? What is Jack Colby's reputation?
And this is what we find out from Gorpley. Well, the guy dresses for success, but he's never worked a day in his life. He charms women into giving him cash, clothes, and cars, and then he kisses them goodbye. He's been married 4 times, and he's got 2, count them 2, ex-wives paying him alimony.
Oh, boy.
And Larry's like, the man's a gigolo.
And then Gorpley goes, yes, he's my hero.
Oh, my gosh, so
As he smiles and walks away.
Yeah.
And then I love this line. Balky goes, oh, cousin, I've dropped Miss Lydia in some deep Baba Steaky.
Yes.
And he has. So we found out this guy is not what he seems, and he's a gigolo.
And so here's the premise coming up. They need to save Lydia from this man. So we cut to the next scene, and we find out it's a weekend. Remember, she was leaving for the weekend.
Okay, so that was Friday. Now it's Monday.
Now it's Monday, and Balky's trying to call Lydia, and he's not getting an answer. And he says, I can't believe she's been gone all weekend.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, they've been trying to reach her all weekend. Now, remember, this is before cell phones and emails.
Yes. You can't
They're
get
just
touch with
calling her home phone or something. She hasn't returned any of the calls. And Balky's feeling bad, like it's his fault. And he says, I never should have practiced matchmaking with only a learner's permit.
You need a license.
Yes. And he starts freaking out. He grabs Larry by the shirt, as they do. Cousin, what if Jack has already tricked her and broken her heart? What if he's already tricked her and taken all her money? And then Larry goes, okay, Balky. And he shakes him back. He's like, stop it.
When they shake each other, it always
so
makes me
funny.
nervous, though, because remember that one time they shook a little too hard and ended up in the hospital?
Yeah, they broke a tooth or something.
And I'm like, I wonder if they think about that every time they have to do the shaking bit, like, just keep your distance.
And he tells him, relax, take deep breaths.
This is funny.
And Larry sort of motions for him to take a deep breath, and Balky does. And he exhales, and then they do it again. And then they do it a third time.
And Balky almost passes out, and Larry has to catch him.
Yeah,
so funny. He's hyperventilating from the deep breath.
A little bit of physical comedy
That's great.
with deep breathing. And here comes Larry as the voice of reason for once.
Wow.
And he's like, listen, Lydia's not stupid. But she went out with the guy, realized right away that he was only after her money, and she'll probably come through that door a sadder but wiser woman. This is good, Larry. This is Larry giving Lydia
some credit.
Yeah. Credit. In fact, more credit than the writers of this episode
a little bit
will give her, as we'll find out.
That is interesting.
So good for Larry, because just then Lydia comes. So he says she'll probably walk through right now all dumb, like sad, but like good for her for avoiding that.
They're expecting her to walk in all forlorn and sad.
Disaster.
And she does not.
She comes in this brightly colored like vacation outfit, a big hat.
A big sun hat. Like, are those capri pants or they're like halfway between shorts and pants?
Very,
I don't know.
Like characteristic, I've been on vacation kind of outfit.
Yes.
On the beach somewhere.
Singing.
And she's singing, Deo, Deo, Daylight coming, me wanna go
Oh,
home.
everybody knows this song.
Yes. So Dale
Yeah.
is the Banana Boat song.
Yeah.
Originally a traditional Jamaican folk song with some other like calypso and other Caribbean influences.
Made famous, obviously, first by Harry Belafonte.
In 1956.
And then, really, I think, again, listeners of our generation, if you've seen Beetlejuice. Yes, the amazing scene in Beetlejuice singing Dale, bringing that, like, that song got popular again.
Yes. So
because of the
big popular song. It was like a call and response workers song when they were loading bananas onto ships, etc.
Banana Boat. Yes, it was actually about bananas when they wrote it. It's such a good song. I love Harry Belafonte.
Great song. Yeah. Harry Belafonte was Jamaican, so it was great that he was the one that.
And why is she singing it? We find out Lydia's been in Jamaica all weekend with Jack.
Which is why they haven't been able to reach her. And they're like, Jamaica, we thought you were going out to dinner. And Lydia said, well, they were, but after they left, they realized they were muy simpatico. And she is just like profusely grateful to Balky. I just don't know how to thank you. Balky's like, well, you might want to hold off on that. And Larry tries to tell her. And he says, I know this is going to hurt, but there are a few things you should know about Jack. Number one. And Lydia cuts him off and says, he's been married 4 times.
Oh, she knows.
And they're like, whoa, you know? And she says, he told me everything. And Larry's like, really? Balky says, did he tell you that 2 of his ex-wives are paying him abalone? Abalone's like a fish.
It's a snail. Because I was like, what is abalone? She goes, alimony.
You mean alimony.
And I was like, wait a minute, what is abalone? It is a snail.
I thought it was a fish. Okay.
That you eat, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So that's a funny little mix-up from Balky. Yeah. She says that, she corrects him, that's alimony, and she says she knows about that too. She says he feels terrible about it. So Lydia is just eating up everything Jack is saying. But we
told her.
We still don't know. Maybe he's a better man now. It seems like he's coming clean about everything. We still don't know.
And then things move really quickly as Balky is trying to explain to Lydia, look, we just want you to find out what kind of a person Jack is before you get too serious. And she goes, too late. We are way beyond serious. They're getting married on Saturday.
What?
And the engagement party is tonight. She invites them 8:00. Don't be late. And Balky just goes, and then she goes, Balky, thanks again. I never would have met Jack without you. And he goes, oh God. Which he said last episode too, when he got his car. Oh God. And Lydia runs off singing the Banana Boat song, going, Dale. And Balky and Larry are completely worried. And Balky goes, Jack is going to take her money and break her heart. It's all my fault.
I've ruined her life.
He goes, according to the matchmaker's code, I must now forever deny myself smoked meat. Which is pretty funny.
This line. This is so funny.
Oh, no, smoked meat is so good.
Meat.
That's the one penance. And then I love Larry's response. He goes, wait a minute, Balky. Don't do anything drastic.
Like, go off.
Taking it serious for the smoked meat punishment. He goes, we'll think of something. They have to, basically, here's the problem they have to solve is they have to show her that Jack will go after any woman with money.
And how are they going to do that?
Well, they pause and they do the thinking motion. They cross their arms and they put their face.
And the scene fades out as they're thinking. And the next scene, we are at Lydia's apartment at the engagement party. It is, as we know, she's got a ton of money.
This is a fancy apartment.
Quite a fancy apartment.
Quite decked out.
A lot of people in the party. The party's going. Everyone's there. And we see Balky come into the foyer, the entryway of the apartment. And he looks out the door into the hallway, says, cousin, aren't you coming? And then we see Larry enter. And what does he look like?
Oh, my God. You see Larry walk in with a blonde wig, full makeup, a blue dress, high heels, and pantyhose.
But it's not like a dress that like a young 20
No, it's not a young person's dress. It's kind of like a older.
Because Jack is older. So
yeah. He's trying to play it up older.
Looks like, and we'll have a reference to this, but it's like shoulder pads.
Yes.
Like fully buttoned up to the neck, completely covered.
Yes. Yes.
It's no shape at all.
No.
But he's got his nails done. He's got makeup on.
He's got makeup. He's wearing some big rings.
And he's got this like curly coiffed hair wig like an older woman would have. So it's very like boxy and sort of
I gotta say, he looks good though. He doesn't make a bad looking woman.
He does look good.
A bad looking older middle aged type. I was like, you're pulling that off, Larry. I'm surprised.
Yes. So just to note that we have been in Lydia's apartment building before because remember they were to move that piano.
Where's that piano? Is it in there?
Piano.
Yes.
I don't know. No, it never got up there.
Oh no, the piano got destroyed. She didn't need it ever. That's right.
But this is the first time we're seeing inside the apartment.
It's pretty swanky.
Yes, pretty swanky. And also another note is a lot of the people in the background in this party we've seen before in the background of other scenes.
Well, and presumably
some
of them work at the Chronicle and stuff.
Yeah. They're all Chronicle people. We see Larry come in and we get the whole joke of this episode and we that ends our act 1.
So this is the plan. This is great. We're going to see how this works out. Listener,
what is going to happen?
Join our Facebook group if you want to join the conversation where I post threads of every episode we are doing. We're almost through season 4, sister. Only a couple episodes left. That's crazy. But you can leave your thoughts and comments and get involved, and we'll read them in the show, and you can meet other Perfect Strangers fans and be lifelong friends over Balky and Larry's shenanigans.
A lot of great conversations
always
happen in that group. So that takes us to Act 2, and we are exactly where we left off. Larry's standing there dressed as a woman, and this party's going on, and we see Lydia and Jack dancing, and then we cut back to Balky and Larry, and Balky says, "Cousin, usually your plans are a bust, but tonight your bust is the plan."
It's a great joke that he laughs at and slaps his thighs.
His own joke.
Where do I come up with them? But that's pretty funny, though.
Then we find out from Larry that this actually was not his plan. His plan was for Balky to be the woman. Balky has this line to explain why it wasn't Balky. He says, "Cousin, we have to convince Lydia that Jack is only after her money, not her body." And I think we both agreed that I looked a little bit too much like Sophia Loren.
Okay, there's a reference to an actress. But so he's pretty much saying that he makes a better looking woman than Larry, which is why it wouldn't work.
Yes. This whole line has hints of problematicness.
a little bit now.
Problems like.
But Sophia Loren, this is your namesake there.
Yes,
she
spelled a little bit differently.
PH.
Sophia Loren was, of course, an Italian actress and became. She won Academy Awards and became a bit of a sex symbol. She was gorgeous.
That was the person when you wanted to refer to a hot, sexy actress, you would always go to Sophia Loren.
Excuse me. She is gorgeous.
She's still alive.
She is 87 years old.
Oh my God, Sophia Loren's still around.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Gorgeous. And I don't know if Bronson Pinchot bears any resemblance to her, but Balky sure thinks.
Well,
does.
Dark hair, Italian, olive skin, kind of.
Mediterranean.
Yeah, Mediterranean, similar thing. So I guess that's where they were going with that.
All right. So everyone knows the plan now. The audience is clued into the plan. And Larry's like, all right, let's do this. And he starts to enter the party, takes a couple steps, and he's wearing high heels, and we all know it's not easy to walk in high heels. He
trips,
stumbles a little bit.
It's not. I don't know how he's walking in those heels.
Balky says, "I told you to wear flats." And Larry says, "Flats with a dress like this? I don't think so."
Even Larry knows how to accessorize.
And he tells Balky to dance him over to Jack. And Balky's like, "Okay, you're going to put the moves on him." And Larry says, no, I'm not going to put moves on him. I'm just going to drop subtle hints about how incredibly rich and lonely I am.
Oh, it's the plan.
And he's like, come on, let's dance. And so they start to dance. And Balky says, wait, I'm the man. Shouldn't I ask you to dance? And they do this little flirtatious, may I have this dance? And Larry says, charmed, I'm sure.
And the dancing pose is hilarious because then they're just, Balky puts his face cheek to cheek with Larry's face, and they slowly dance over to Lydia and Jack, who are dancing, and Lydia notices, and she goes, hi, Balky, who's your date? And then you can see Balky trying to say these lines that
he's remembered.
That they went this plan they went over, right? He's like, oh, this is Cousin Larry's aunt.
Yeah.
Cousin Larry wasn't feeling well, and Cousin Larry's aunt was visiting, so I asked Cousin Larry's aunt to come. And Lydia introduced herself and Jack, and then Larry is so great. He holds up his hand. He goes, Desiree Appleton. Nice to meet you.
I love that name, Desiree Appleton. It does sound like a rich lady's name.
Appleton. And Balky's like, you can call her Desi. Which reminds me of Desi Arnaz in I Love Lucy.
Yeah, but Desiree Appleton sounds like a rich woman. And Lydia asks what brings Desiree to Chicago, and here comes all the like setup of how rich she is. Larry says,
setting the bait. They're throwing out the bait.
I'm taking a trip around the world to inspect my late husband's hotels and casinos. And then he and Balky look at each other and then both look at Jack to see if there's any reaction.
Anything? Yeah.
And there's no reaction. And Balky tries to help. He says, Aunt Desi's late and very dead husband was also a very successful shipping maggot.
Shipping maggot.
He says maggot.
And they're like, excuse me? And Larry goes, magnet. Shipping magnet. And he turns and Balky's looking at his mouth again.
The same thing. Yes. We've seen this a lot. Magnet. And Balky examines his mouth.
Shipping maggot is funny, though.
So I feel like that looking at Larry's mouth thing was like a new gag that started a few episodes ago, and they're hitting it every time.
Oh my God,
now.
yes, they are. He does this all the time. But it's funny when he's just looking at his mouth.
And still Jack does nothing. No
Jack
reaction.
Is not taking the bait.
He's like, cool. And then he's like,
we got to go. There's other guests.
Let's talk to other guests. And they walk away, Jack and Lydia.
Balky's like, cousin, you're dying over here. He's like, I think you got to dump the B. Arthur look.
There it is.
Maybe show a little thigh.
And Larry goes, forget it. I only shaved to the knee. Love
Oh, my God. He actually shaved his legs just in case.
Even though none of his legs are even really showing. But
just in case.
B. Arthur
from the
is
Golden
exactly
Girls.
how he's dressed.
That's
with those shoulder pads fully covered in these flowy, boxy dresses.
Yeah, it is the older rich lady look.
Yeah. So we cut to a little bit later, and we see Larry as Desiree.
This is pretty funny.
Sitting at a table alone. Harriet comes and sits down next to him, and she's like, nice party, huh? And Larry goes, yes, it's delightful. And then Harriet sees Larry.
She's the only one who recognizes him, apparently.
Apparently,
right?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I had for later. Harriet can see, so she's like,
Larry. She goes,
she's like, Larry? And Larry's like, I can explain this. And Harriet's like, I don't want to know.
She's like, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't want to know. And she just gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
Harriet's like, I'm not getting involved in this one.
But this is an interesting thing. I wonder why they even added that. Maybe a previous version of the script had more stuff here, but like,
that's a good point.
What does this show for the story? Because if anything, it just complicates it.
It's unnecessary
because it lets us know that he's not that well disguised to his close friends.
Yes.
And these are all his close friends.
I'm sorry, Harriet recognizes him, but Lydia did not recognize him.
Nobody, yeah, right.
Or anybody
else at the party.
You do see R.J. Wainwright in the background, too.
Yeah, Wainwright's there.
And then Balky walks over. He's got some dessert. And he goes, cousin, this chocolate mouse is to die for. Mouse.
Yeah.
Of course, he means moose. And he goes, you've got to try it. And Larry's like, I can't, Balky. Not if I want to stay a size 10. So he's already picked up a lot of the hang-ups women have in the 80s.
Yeah, interesting to know that size 10 was small in 1980, or it was like...
Oh, now it's like small. Size 0 or 1 or 2.
Yeah. That's
disconcerting that we've went this way.
Yes. Or size 6 at least.
Right.
10 is considered a little bit, I don't know. We don't have to get into that. But and actually, Mark Linn-Baker is a small man. Yeah. I don't think he was a size 10. Not today's size 10. Maybe back 1989
He's
size 10.
Skinny mini.
Yeah. So then Jack comes back into the scene and he says, well, hello again. And Larry's like, okay, here's another chance. And he says, Balky, look, it's Jack. And so they're at this like food table getting food. And Jack asks Desiree Appleton how long she's in town for. And Balky and Larry answer at the same time. Balky says a month. Larry says a week. And then Larry quickly goes, a week and a month. 5 weeks together. And then he
Then he
says,
pours it on some more.
then I'm off to the Far East, China, Japan, Tibet. And Bilky says, oh, Aunt Desi loves Tibet. Tibet. She must go to Vegas 5-6 times a year. So that's a little play on Tibet.
Tibet.
In fact, she loves Vegas so much she's thinking of buying it.
Oh, he's going a little bit too far.
Yeah, and Larry's trying to stop him. Balky, stop him. She's like, but she's going to have to sell Atlantic City first. And he's like, stop. So, yeah, he keeps going. Balky's trying to pile it on. Larry pinches his ear, Balky's ear, to make him stop and asks Balky to get him a glass of water. And Balky says, well, you can have mine. I haven't touched it.
But then Balky continues trying to help, but he's not. He goes, oh, where was I? There was an interesting moment once and then Larry reaches over, pinches his ear again, and goes, would you give me a glass of water? From a well. Just looks at him, and then finally Balky gets it.
He goes, oh, right. Aunt Desi loves her well water, as well she should.
Another pun.
Well
pun. Yeah.
And he laughs again at his own joke, doing like the slapping the thighs as he walks away and throws his hands up. But this time, as he walks away, Desiree says, where does he come up with them? Which I thought was a cute change of things. So they go to the buffet table to get some food, and Jack and Desiree.
And Desiree Appleton.
Larry, as Desiree says to Jack, you'll have to forgive Balky. He's a little awkward around me, probably because I'm so unbelievably wealthy. And Jack is still not taking the bait. He's just having a casual. He's like, well, you're lucky your husband left you well taken care of. And Larry's like, yeah, I suppose. But I think Lydia's the fortunate one. She has you. And he's trying to put the moves on him. He's like playing with his tie and all this stuff.
He's like batting his eyes right at her.
He's trying to flirt terribly and put the moves on.
And he starts to tell Jack, he's like, I didn't mean to embarrass you, but I just, I always thought if I found the right person, my life would be perfect. Someone to whisper sweet nothings in my ear, to exchange a knowing glance with. Someone to walk hand in hand through the many shopping centers and retail outlets. He's really trying to get him to take the bait. And Jack doesn't take the bait. He goes, well, I hope you find what you're looking for, and leaves. He
says, excuse me, and he walks away.
And Larry is frustrated, and he just goes, what's a woman got to do? Looking around, right?
Yes.
So Jack seemingly is not taking the bait. Interesting.
What is going
weird.
on? What are they going to do? So then we see in the next scene, Larry walks to the sort of entryway, and there's like all these coats and jackets on a rack, and he's like looking through the jackets. It's sort of like in the foyer outside of the main party.
Nobody else is around, yes.
Nobody else is around. And suddenly, Jack comes into the foyer and grabs Larry from behind and clutches Desiree Appleton. And like hugs her tight, and he goes, Desiree! And Larry's like, oh, Jack. And Jack says, Desiree, I can't stand it any longer. I can't resist you.
So Jack just comes up and kind of assaults Desiree.
Yeah, that is assault.
But I was like, Jack, you just grabbed this woman.
Up until this moment, we thought the plan wasn't working and that Jack wasn't taking the bait. But apparently there was a big turn of events, and he thought about it for a moment and was like, oh, she's rich.
We learned that Jack is a sleazy gold digger, as he says, I'm talking about us. He goes, when you walk through that door, I felt something. He's just making stuff up now. And just hearing you talk about whispering sweet nothings, knowing glances, long walks, I realized you were whispering to me, glancing at me, and walking with me. And he starts blowing in her ear and
awkwardly.
Kissing her on the face. I was like, oh, my God. But Desiree's playing along.
Yeah, because Larry's excited now because his plan is working. And he says, oh, Jack, you can't imagine how much I was hoping you'd say that.
It's a true statement.
And Jack says, sweetheart, let's run away tonight and get married. Oh, boy,
wow.
This guy moves fast.
This guy is so sleazy.
He's at his engagement party with Lydia.
Yes, and he just
proposes to Desiree Appleton. And he goes to kiss Desiree, and Desiree puts her hand over Jack's mouth and pushes him away.
Face, yes.
Yeah. And she goes, no. And he says, what about Lydia? And Jack's like, who? He's like,
man.
Lydia. And Jack says, forget her. She's a child. You're a woman. And he tries to kiss him again. And Larry again puts his hand over Jack's mouth. No. And he insists, first you have to tell Lydia. We can't begin our life together until I'm sure it's over between you two. Always a good thing when you're trying to steal a man. And Jack's like, I'll call her from Vegas. And he's like, no, you have to tell her now. This is so funny how he
leans
says now.
in again, and Larry grabs his face and squishes his lips,
mouth.
right?
Yeah.
And for a moment, you can see Jack going, whoa, Desiree's pretty strong.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. This lady's got muscles.
Man hands.
And he's like, you have to tell her no.
And Jack's like, okay.
Of course. With his face still squished. He goes, of course.
So Larry lets his face go, and they both go back into where the party is. And Larry's like, whew. And then he straightens his dress and his wig and everything. He goes back into the party too. And then this is a really funny scene. Balky had been waiting just outside on the edge of the party, in the entryway.
Yeah.
And Jack starts to come back into the party. So Balky puts his head like behind a plant.
He's sitting next to this giant house plant, and as Jack walks away, he just buries his head like an ostrich so that he won't see him.
And then Larry enters after Jack and doesn't see Balky hiding back there. And Balky comes out from behind the plant. He goes, cousin. And Larry Larry's like, ah. And then Larry's like, it's working. And they high five each other. And then they do
that grabbing motion. Grabbing success.
So weird. From down up.
Yes, they've done that a couple of times.
With their grabbing claw hands.
That's another running thing they've been trying to do.
Balky's like, amazing. And Larry says, Jack took the bait. And Balky says, oh, great. Now reel him in and hit him with an oar. And Larry just looks at him, and Balky says, that's how we fish on Mypos. You reel him in and hit him with an oar.
Knock him on the head.
That doesn't surprise me. I can see that happening on Mypos.
It's a style of fishing.
Yeah. Club
style of fishing, yes. So Lydia sees Jack, and she takes him to the middle of the room, and she's like, attention, everyone. We have an announcement to make. Tell them, Jack. But what? I don't know what that announcement was supposed to be. We never find
out what this announcement's supposed to be.
So, and then right before that, Desiree taps Jack on the arm, and she goes, Jack, be gentle. And he goes, I will. And he turns right back around and goes, Lydia, your history. I'm marrying somebody else. And everyone is shocked.
And Lydia's like, what is this dump Lydia month?
Poor Lydia. I feel so bad for her. She just gets publicly.
But what was the announcement she was going to make?
Because they know they were going to get married. Maybe they're moving the wedding up. I don't know what that announcement was.
Maybe they already got married. I don't know.
But they've Jack has hijacked that announcement. And he goes, I thought I loved you, but then I met Desiree and I discovered what real love is. And she's like, Desiree? This Desiree?
She's like, you're leaving me for a woman you just met? And this is the greatest line ever. Balky goes, no, Miss Lydia. and he pulls Larry's wig off. She goes, he's leaving you for a man he just met. As he pulls the wig off.
Oh my God, and everybody. So this made me think of.
And everyone reacts with like,
it made me think of two things. First, a little Mrs. Doubtfire.
A little Mrs. Doubtfire.
Of course, bosom buddies.
Virginia Doubtfire.
Hello. Little bosom buddies, but then also now, like Austin Powers. Where he goes, that's a man, baby, and he rips the wig up.
Also a little Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yes, where you
a little Scooby-Doo.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that reminded me of.
He just like pulls off the wig.
Oh, my God, it's so funny.
And everyone's like, what? And then Jack is still not phased. He goes, no problem. We'll find the best psychiatrist that money can buy.
He needs to get paid, Jack.
Because he's like, I'm going to marry this, even if it's a man. I want the money. And then Larry's like, I have no money. And Jack goes, no money. And he turns back to Lydia and goes, Lydia, the wedding's back on. Let's make our announcement, whatever the announcement was going to be.
Jack.
And then Balky's ready to give it to Jack.
He is mad.
On behalf of Lydia, he goes, just 1 minute, you jello mold. And Larry off to the side goes, gigolo. And Balky goes, you gold finger. And Larry goes, gold digger. He goes, you old timer. And Larry goes, two timer. And Balky turns to him, he goes, you want to do this?
He's like, no, go ahead. You're doing fine.
Belky says, just who do you think you are? Some kind of Don Juan Johnson?
That is a great mash of two things.
This is a mashup of Don Juan,
yes,
who was also known as Don Giovanni, the Italian version. It was a fictional Spanish, like Lothario heartthrob.
Well, when someone calls you a Don Juan, they're saying...
was like, his whole life was about seducing women.
They're saying you are good with women when you're called a Don Juan. Look at this Don Juan. But he says Don Juan Johnson. Don
Johnson was Donnie Wayne Johnson, which is also funny that his middle name was Wayne.
Oh, I didn't know Don Johnson's middle name was Wayne.
Could be Juan Wayne Johnson. Don Johnson is an American actor, producer, director, singer, and songwriter. He was in Miami Vice.
Well, that would have been the 80s reference, most famously known for Miami Vice. But Don Johnson's still around. He's still doing roles. He was had a successful stint as Nash Bridges.
Was in Django Unchained. Knives Out.
Yeah, Machete.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I forgot about his singing career. His songs were not that good, even though he had a Billboard.
Well, he had a couple Billboard hits.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about these Don Johnson songs. Heartbeat, he had a song there.
Let It Roll. Heartbeat was number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. He's got a star on the Hollywood Walk
Johnson's
of Fame.
Great. I like his work. But
he was in Nash Bridges in the 90s.
Yeah, Balky combines Don Juan and Don Johnson.
Okay, so Balky's still on his giving him his peace of mind on his shoulders.
And there's more mashed up sayings.
Well, I have a hot flash dance for you.
That's another combination: hot flash and flash dance. The movie. Yes.
He says, Miss Lydia's been dumped by better men than you, and that was just this week. Oh my gosh, that's like almost something in her favor, but not. And he says, she's a wonderful person and a snappy little dresser, and you are not worthy to spit on the ground she walks on. So hit the road, Jack. And I mean maybe.
I forget. What
is that reference? That's like, I don't mean maybe. And I mean now, I don't mean maybe. What's the saying about that? I wasn't sure.
I think it's supposed to be like an affirmative, but then he throws in the maybe to screw it up. Like, I think it means to say, and I mean it, baby, or I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the idiom is, I don't mean maybe.
Oh, and I don't mean maybe.
I'm not
That's
joking
right.
about this. Do what I'm asking or demanding without
That's right.
question
And I
or
don't
protest.
mean maybe.
That's
because, and I mean maybe.
And I mean maybe. And Jack asks Lydia, do you want me to go? And she goes, not just yet. And then she grabs a pastry with a lot of cream on it from a server and smashes it in Jack's face. And she goes, now you can.
Everybody applauds. The audience, the people in the room. Good for Lydia.
A cream pie in the face is always a good gag in a show.
She should have kicked him in the groin area too.
Yeah.
Knee to the groin would also send a message.
And Jack sort of like slinks out of the room, humiliated.
That guy should be reported to something.
Yeah. Balky asks Lydia if she's all right. And she says, oh, I'm fine. No big deal. Men are like freeway exits. If you miss one, there's another one down the road. What was the first one? Buses?
Buses. Men are like buses and freeway exits.
So at this point, I thought this line was going to be, it would have been nice to have 3 of them. And there may very well have been some cut.
Yeah, they only did it
for
twice.
time, but it was only 2. I would have liked to see this repeat at least one more time. But she says, if you miss one, there's another one. I'm fine. Everyone, please don't let this spoil the party. Eat, drink, be merry. Everyone goes back to the party. And then Larry and Balky together go 3, 2, 1. And then she explodes in tears again.
She's not all right. She's just suppressing it.
Yeah.
Poor Lydia, but they
saved her.
They saved her. They got her out of a mess. They got her out of a huge mess.
Yes, Larry's plan actually worked.
Wow,
for
Larry's plan does work. Oh my God. And it was a Larry plan. Yeah.
Yes. So we cut to the final scene. They're back at the apartment, and Larry and Balky are in their living room. Larry's still in the blue dress, except he's got the wig in his hand, so it looks a little funny. And he's like, takes off his high heels and looks like he's got some relief on his feet. And Balky says, cousin Miss Lydia's lucky to have a friend like you.
Yeah.
By the end of the evening, you had her laughing out of the palm of your hand.
That's a messed up line. That is a messed up reference.
The expression is eating out of the palm of your hand, not laughing out of the palm of your hand.
But it sounds like he made her feel better. And
he made her feel better.
Really, like, he did a huge thing for Lydia. Yeah. Like, he is a good friend. That was it. Yes. That was good.
And Larry says, well, I hope you learned your lesson.
Oh, there's a lesson? What's the lesson?
Well, this is not a traditional lesson time. We don't have music. And at this line, I was also thinking, what's the lesson?
We don't find out. He doesn't mention the lesson.
But all Balki says is, cousin, I did. Oh, I did. Thank you, cousin. And then we move on to the final joke, which we'll get there in a minute. But the lesson is
interfere in people's lives.
Don't make matches.
Or
maybe the lesson is for Lydia. Don't be so gullible, so quick to fall in love.
Or vet your matches a little bit better.
Yeah. But anyway,
there's multiple lessons.
All we know is like Balki learned some kind of lesson.
They don't tell you exactly.
He doesn't know.
Sure.
We don't know what the lesson. Yeah, you could match make, but do your research on the.
Right. That's a lesson.
There's so many lesson opportunities, but we don't know which lesson he learned. And so he just says, I did. Thank you. And at that point, there's a knock on the door, and it's Jennifer, and she comes in, and she goes...
and Balki is hugging Larry at this point.
Like bear hugging Larry, arms around him.
And let's remember, Larry is wearing a blue dress and has makeup on.
Full makeup on.
Yes.
Earrings, painted nails, everything. A brooch, sparkly jewelry. Yes. And Jennifer walks in, and she's like, hey, Larry, I was just wondering if you want to get some coffee. And then she sees the scene, Balki hugging Larry dressed as a woman. And she's just like, I should have called first.
And she turns and
she leaves and roll credits.
Listener, check out our merch shop over at danceofjoypod.com/shop. You can get some great Dance of Joy swag, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, travel mugs, cell phone cases with the logo. And there's always a lot of sales going on over there. So bookmark the page, go back to it, and you can get some fun stuff, show the world.
It's tank top season.
It is tank top season, and they have all sorts of different colors of tank tops.
Sun's out, guns out.
That's right. And like there's lovely, there's different kinds of cotton t-shirts. They got the real soft kind. Sun's out, guns out. Start picking up those weights.
Yes, sun's out, guns out.
So this was an okay episode. It was a fun episode. You know, the big joke seeing Larry dressed as a woman was funny. He makes a pretty good looking B. Arthur type woman, I guess.
I feel like the writers were just like, how do we get Larry to dress as a woman? And they wrote this around that. One thing I thought was like the way they wrote Jack's character didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, he didn't seem to be taking the bait the whole time. There was no sign of him at all. And then all of a sudden it was like...
Maybe that's the point though. Like in public, he was trying to suppress it. He can't do it in front of Lydia and everybody.
That's true.
He had to wait for a moment where he could steal away. But Larry's plan that works, and like
Larry's plan
solid
worked.
Friend move.
Yeah.
You know?
They're good friends at the end of the day. They care about
They took a big risk in an over-the-top plan to help Lydia.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And it was funny. We had some good a little bit of good physical comedy. We had some good wordplay here and there.
Yeah, Balki had some good lines.
Good lines for Balki. We found out some stuff about Mypos, matchmaking and fishing.
Yeah, and his mom, and yes.
Yeah.
So some backstory. It's good.
Again, I would still love to know what Balki's mother's matchmaking service is called. What's on that brochure?
Match Made in Mypos.
Match Made in Mypos.
Maybe. I don't know.
All in all, some good laughs in this episode.
Some quality laughs. What did our listeners think, sister?
Well, our listeners had some good things to say. First of all, we have a new listener writing in. Maybe not a new listener, but a new commenter. Cecily Griffith. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Apologies if not.
Cousin Cecily,
welcome to the party. She writes, I really liked this episode and think Mark/Larry was able to successfully pull off looking like a woman when he was in drag.
Yeah.
This was one of the first Perfect Strangers episodes that my mother and I watched together, and I remember her commenting that Mark looked like B. Arthur.
There you go.
I myself think Mark in drag looked a little bit better than her, but I can kind of see the resemblance too.
Yeah,
Thank you,
he does pull it off surprisingly well.
And then we have cousin John Adama with a bunch of very insightful comments and a little overarching wrap up as always. So Cousin John writes, feels like we spent a lot of time setting up the problem and then jump straight into Larry wearing a dress.
That's what we just said.
That's basically,
They're trying to get to Larry in a dress.
It was just a vehicle to have Marklin Baker in a dress.
Yeah, and you had to do it before the end of the break, right? To get the gag to work. And that was good. And
this next comment is very apt, too. It's something I wanted to talk about. The writers kind of had to dumb down Lydia for this to work.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the one hand, they paint her as this very successful. In this episode, we know that she is successful. She's rich. She's a powerful woman. She's out there. She's got a beautiful apartment.
Yeah.
But when it comes to men, somehow she just makes bad choices or has bad luck.
She's just so desperate for companionship
and I don't like that.
It clouds any kind of logical reasoning.
And you'd think that an advice columnist
she should know better. That's kind of funny.
Would know about relationships. I don't know what kind of advice, what category of advice she specializes in, but you'd think she would know these signs.
Yeah. How does she not see any of this?
So not too pleased with the writers on that, and I also wonder how many women were in the writer's room for this episode.
Yeah.
Cousin John adding to the Lydia comment, that's even more obvious when Harriet takes one look and knows immediately.
That's what we said too.
Okay, so John is talking about Lydia being dumbed down because she can't see that it's Larry. I was talking about just Lydia's whole character in the whole episode.
Well, they dumbed her down in every aspect because Harriet saw it through it right away.
But not only Lydia then, that means everybody else at the Chronicle is just as dumb.
They didn't notice.
None of his coworkers noticed
it's
that it was
It's a good
Larry.
thing Wainwright didn't notice because that could have been a problem.
Well, I think earlier versions of the script had Wainwright more involved in this party with Desiree Appleton. Cousin John continues to write, they're not even going to address where Larry got the clothes, wig, and too many accessories.
Yeah, where did he get all that stuff?
Not important.
Just have it in his closet?
Certainly not from Jennifer or Marianne because they don't dress like that. Jennifer wearing the suspender type pants sort of undercuts the joke. She should have been wearing a matching dress.
That might have been kind of funny.
That would have been really funny. Yeah. Okay, and Cousin John's wrap up, a silly little episode carrying on the long-standing tradition of men wearing dresses for comedy's sake.
Yeah.
The plot is paper thin and the pacing feels uneven, but it balances out with some decent laughs and the boys' good intentions.
A solid wrap-up from Cousin John. He's absolutely right. He nails it. Yeah.
And finally, we have listener cousin Laura Fu, who writes, didn't seem to be much of a lesson here, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Just the laugh from seeing Marklin Baker dressed up as a woman. My one question, though, is how did he get that together? Not just the ensemble and accessories, but the makeup, too. I can't imagine Balky or Larry having or knowing how to apply the makeup. I'd guess that Jennifer or Marianne assisted, and if so, why not just ask one of them to play the part? Yeah, I'm thinking too hard. It was hilarious, though. Unbelievable plot, but isn't that what makes 80s sitcoms great?
I mean, she has a good point, though.
But I thought about that, too. But the thing is, all of their close circle of friends know Jennifer and Marianne. So
they would catch on.
They would be like, "That's Jennifer. She's not a rich old lady."
And Jennifer clearly didn't help him put on the makeup, but he had blush, lipstick, eyeshadow, eye makeup. Yeah. It was really well done. Does he know? Maybe he know. Who put that on?
He has sisters. I don't know.
Did he have? He is one of 8. Maybe he learned from his sisters.
Maybe he went to the department store makeup counters and asked them to get.
But that is a good question.
That is a good question.
But you know what? Don't think about it too much also.
I also spent some time thinking about who else, are there other women in their lives that
Where
they
get these clothes
but not
from?
Anyone that everybody doesn't know. They don't know.
It was Mrs. Schlegelmilch.
Yeah.
Remember Schlegelmilch?
Yeah, from the apartment.
Is she still around?
She's probably still around.
They're in the same apartment, sort of.
So some great comments from our listeners. Again, if you'd like to chime in, please join our group, and we will get your comments in there as well.
Don't be ridiculous. Was said one time.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And they were briefly in the apartment, only at the end of the episode. We didn't see Dimitri, but...
No, missed opportunity for Dimitri to dress like
Dimitri
B.
in
Arthur.
a dress. Yes, it's right there. Put Dimitri in a dress.
Put it in there with makeup in the same blue dress with a brooch.
But that scene was like a minute
Very
long.
short,
So I don't know if we would have seen it, but they could have done it.
Okay, listeners, now it's time for the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we talk about the challenges of making these episodes, or opportunities of making the same story, the same episode today in 2022. I'm going to vote no on this one. I'm going to say this episode would not
There's a few
really hold up. Some
problematic
things are a little
maybe.
problematic these days.
So yes, John, like Cousin John mentioned, the long-standing trope of men in drag for a laugh, and it is something you saw a lot in the 80s, in the 90s, on various shows. I feel like you don't see this gag anymore on
It's
TV.
not humorous anymore in the same way. Now we have like RuPaul's Drag Race. People are into that.
Yeah.
It's like celebrated now. It's not like goofy and
Right.
and
Yeah,
humorous.
that's right. And yeah.
And we are a lot more aware about gender fluidity and all these types of things. I don't think the premise would be as well received today.
No, cross-dressing as a joke would, a lot of people, it would offend some people, a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So like, because I remember like they did this on Saved by the Bell. Like I can think of a ton of shows where this happened back
But
in the
nothing
day.
too recently.
No, but I don't think you could do this gag anymore. Could you do it the other way around? Where a woman dresses up as a man.
What is that? Like pants and a shirt? That's not
Or
a
in
thing.
a suit pretending to be, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think the premise would. I mean, if the point was to see Marklyn Baker in a dress, I don't think that's going to happen in a show today.
I'm like, there's an art to it now, like RuPaul's Drag Race, right? Which that show has won Emmys. Like that show is huge. I did not realize how huge it was. I've never watched it, but apparently it's very good.
There's also something problematic about the way, going back to Lydia's character, about the way they wrote a successful, accomplished woman being a little dumb and desperate.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be as well received either. Certainly not if there are any women in the writers' room.
Sure, she would have a little more agency today if you wrote that, like she'd be a little bit smarter.
There could be another premise in which she somehow falls in with a bad romantic interest and they have to save her, but not this premise.
Right. They would still, the main thing of trying to save her from being got by a gold digger. Even that whole thing is, but I mean, that still happens. You see this.
It does. Catfishing. There's catfishing.
There's tons of true crime podcasts about these things.
Oh, yeah. The whole Tinder swindler.
All the time. Speaking of Tinder matchmaking today, are there still matchmakers or is it all in apps?
There are like executive matchmakers for like rich people who don't want. Yeah. There's shows about that too. Millionaire matchmaking.
But isn't there a show on Netflix about the Indian lady matchmaker?
Indian matchmaker.
Because in our culture, just like in Fiddler on the Roof and the Jewish culture, it's kind of a huge thing in the Indian culture. And
it was a wildly popular Netflix show.
Yeah, and
recently.
I watched some of it, and it reminded me of like our mom trying to do this a little bit, not always successfully.
Our
also,
mom used to do a good bit of matchmaking.
Oh, a lot.
Until she had some pretty bad unsuccessful matches.
Not the best
got
record.
Out of the business.
Let's say she didn't have a brochure.
She did have a good record until she didn't.
But here's the thing: I feel like all Asian mothers think they're matchmakers.
Yeah, South Asian mothers. Yeah.
South Asian mother, they all think they're good at it. They all want to be proud of like, look, I put these two together.
Yeah.
But like, you're just not always gonna hit. I don't know.
Not always gonna hit. But there are like executive matchmaking services now for rich, accomplished people who want certain things.
Let me see
the idea behind those are that there are young people who are so busy working and being rich and making their money that they don't have time to play on Tinder and the apps and whatever they want. They know what they want.
Yeah.
And they gonna hire this person to help them find it.
And you know what? It's not a bad service because you save a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right? You get rid of all that. Let's just cut to the chase and put everything on the table. And you need someone to mediate these things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go on the apps.
I often think the best way to meet someone is through your friends, like a connection through a friend, because your friends know you the best and they're going to know the other person. Presumably, in this case, Balky just found someone in a diner. I wouldn't trust a friend who just found someone in a diner. But if a friend came to me and said, hey, I know this person really well and they're awesome and you're awesome, I think you'd get along, I would trust that friend over any other app or anything.
Here's the episode today. Lydia gets catfished.
Yes.
She's approached by and like the person approaching her could be even a woman, but it's a fake profile, fake information. Maybe somebody else meets her. That's what you would do. And then the cousins, how would they help her? I don't know.
Well, they do the online sleuthing, just like the show.
Yes, they would.
Or they
stalk
get her
him out.
on the Catfish show, the reality show.
Yeah. Or maybe hire an actual matchmaker. But yeah, she would be, because she's like an online columnist and she gets catfished.
Yeah.
And then they have to help her. So that part could work. You just have to do it all different.
But if she was that famous and successful of of a personality, a public personality in today's time, she would be very aware of the catfishing and be very mistrustful of anybody who, like a fan that was like, oh my God.
Unless he had a whole fake Instagram set up.
Unless he was very convincing.
And
right.
there is, people do it well. It's very convincing where you can't even
trust no one.
No, you can't
trust
anymore.
No one.
You can't
trust
anymore.
Nothing. Stay single forever. That's the lesson of this show.
Yes, it is.
Enjoy your money and be single.
Yes, it's a lot. Yeah, you save a lot of money being single. That's it for this week. Join us next week when the cousins get invited to a poker game being thrown by Gorpley. So, I wonder if Balky learns how to play poker and not get took for all his money. But
yes,
poker
shenanigans coming up.
In the meantime, listener, support the show. There's another way you can support us by buying us a virtual coffee. Visit danceofjoypod.com/support and throw some dig does our way. Get us some virtual coffees. It helps keep the show going. We appreciate any and all support.
It helps us hire Meposian matchmakers.
Yes, those matchmakers aren't cheap. They want lots of goat milk as snacks.
If you are not able to throw a few dig does our way, that's totally fine too. Please go and check us out on our website, danceofjoypod.com. There you'll find the links to all the places where you can listen to this podcast, where you can leave a rating and review the podcast, subscribe. You can also press a button right there from the website and send us a voice message. Tell us what Balky's mother's matchmaking service is called. What are your ideas? What should it be called? And if you, like me, hate the sound of your own voice, one, we got to get over that because our voices are amazing.
You're doing a podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
And two, you can also send us an old-fashioned electronic mail at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. You can also connect with us on any of our social media accounts. The links are there on the website. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Say hi. Let us know your love for Perfect Strangers. What's your favorite episode? But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Always remember to be kind and rewind your VHS tape before you return it to the rental place, because nobody likes it when you get a movie and it's all the way at the end and you got to rewind it. Remember when you had to rewind things?
Yes.
But the more important than that, share the show, listener. Share it with your matchmaker.
Share it with a well-dressed man you meet in a diner.
Share it with your
rich Aunt Desiree Appleton.
Yes, with all your rich family members. Hi, I'm Desiree.
Share this show. Share Perfect Strangers. Share the podcast, danceofjoypod.com.
Word of mouth is the best thing for podcasts, so recommend it to a buddy.
We're having fun doing this, and we want all of you to join us for the fun. And that's our show for today. Now we are so happy.
We do the dance of joy.
Hey,